Good afternoon, my crafty friends. I am working on some gift boxes from a pattern I downloaded from 3D SVG, Leo Cowell's website. He has some gift boxes he was demonstrating. This is an old pattern. It's been out for a couple of years, but I just happened to be watching the video again, and I thought, well, these would be perfect for my little gifts that I want to give to my birthday club. And because they're just perfect for this size. The boxes that he made were 4x4 square. I changed the pattern, of course, because I'm never satisfied with just the pattern I download. I always have to do a little modification. So I made them in 3-inch size and 3.5-inch size instead of 4. The rest of the pattern is basically the same. The only difference I did was I added a lip that added a little piece to the pattern. When you open the pattern, it's like this. And Leo's doesn't have these parts that I have added right here, these little flaps on the side, because I wanted mine to be able to fold over and have a non-cut paper edge. I don't like cut paper edges. I like a fold. It makes it nice and smooth and makes it look more finished. So I added that to the box and to the lid. The rest of it is basically the same that he had. A few little differences, but pretty much the same pattern. I did make a little hole in the center of the lid, a hole in the center of the ribbon, a hole in the center of the designer paper, so it made it a little bit easier to line up. Because Leo doesn't use score lines, he uses paper cut lines, and when you do that, it makes like he makes little cuts in the paper so you can see where to do your placement. Well, I don't like that. I just prefer to use score lines. So there's some of the little boxes I've made. So today I'm going to make this one again to demonstrate. So I'm using Bazzill paper. It's my favorite for cutting with the Cricut. This is French vanilla, and this paper came out of a paper pack from Joann, the Park Lane paper pack. I believe this is the same as Encore. It's just a multicolor paper in a pack. I think there's like 60 sheets in there. Of course, you won't be able to get that anymore because our Joann's is closing. But here is the paper pieces. This needs to be a little bit thinner paper than the box paper because it's going to make a ribbon, so you want to be able to like do it with your finger or a scissor or a dowel to make it curl up nicely, and it won't curl up if it's this really thick Bazzill paper. So something a little bit thinner, the Encore paper or this paper from Joann, or you can actually buy Park Lane from Walmart or online. So that's what that is, and that color is called pomegranate, I think. All right, my designer paper that I'm using, I normally use a lot of Stampin' Up! Designer paper just because I literally have thousands and thousands of sheets. But this one I did because I wanted it something for a special friend because it has music on it. And this is called Pastel Florals. It's a digital paper from Etsy, from an Etsy store. I won't give you that Etsy store name because they may not want to be publicized. But this is digital paper, and all you do is download the digital paper, make it the size you want it, put it in Cricut Design Space, and then you take your piece that you want to cut and you just slice it out of the paper. So there's no waste, there's no printing of a whole sheet or using a whole sheet of paper because you're only printing what's going to get cut out. So it really is a savings in my opinion, because you know, depending on what kind of inkjet printer you have, but if it's the kind with the bottles of ink, lasts a long, long time. You take this, and then I also, before I cut it, I take some of Tim Holtz Distress Glaze, I think they call it. You put it on a little sponge dauber. It's solid. It looks like Vaseline, and you rub it on the paper, and it makes it literally like a piece of designer paper. It's slick. It won't fade. I have a piece laying in the window that I've been testing to see if it will fade, and it's been laying there for about 6 months, and it looks just like it did the day I printed it out. So that really helps with making the paper more realistically than as if it were printed on a computer printer. So we're going to start with the box part first. These pieces belong to the lid, so I'll put those aside, and these are the pieces we're going to need for the box. You need a piece like this and a piece like this. and a solid piece like this. This is actually the reinforcement in the bottom. It's the same as this piece here. Now, some of you might have my pattern that I've changed, and this actual piece is attached right here, so that you just fold it up inside the box, glue the box shut, and then fold this up as the bottom. But this was one I cut earlier before I added that little feature. So we'll put that over here. We don't need any of our ribbon pieces right now. We're going to build our box. I've already sponged all of my pieces. I did not sponge this paper because it's French vanilla, and really French vanilla doesn't look good once it's sponged. It just makes it look dirty, and I don't like that look. So I just don't sponge paper that's white or off-white. This is a lovely cream paper. This is Bazzill. It is my favorite off-white, standard, go-to, most any project, making my little houses, the little townhouses, anything for Christmas, angels, anything like that. It's my go-to color because it's not white, it's not yellow, it's not cream. It's just a lovely, lovely, soft, buff color. So I'm going to go over my score lines. And you don't want real sharp score lines. That's why I'm just doing it with my finger instead of a bone folder. Because it's a box, you want it to be more rounded and not so sharp a fold. It makes it look more finished. And fold that up. Make sure I get it straight. There we go. And then in the middle. So that's our fold lines. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and glue these two pieces together, and then we're going to put our sides on. Now, I noticed that in Leo's video, I think he actually built his box and then glued the sides on. Well, I don't do that. That just, like, seems very cumbersome when you got this flat surface. Why not just use the flat surface? And I'm using a Barely Art Precision Craft Glue. That is my favorite go-to glue for doing paper. I used to use tacky glue all the time because that's what SVG cuts. That's what she uses. That's what kind of got me started. But this is actually more economical because you don't need, you know, as much glue as you think you do. And I'm going to kind of tap this like this so that it gets over to the edge. Since this is a box, we want it to look nice and clean. Make sure you wipe your finger off after you touch the glue. Keep you a damp cloth so you can wipe your fingers. And I'm just going to line that up right there. That's right on it. Okay, and this is symmetrical, which means you can just fold it, and it should match up perfectly. If it doesn't, then you did something wrong on the first flap, or you cut it wrong. It should be symmetrical and match up. So we're just going to fold that shut, just like that. Now, if you like, you can set this aside, work on something else, and let this be under your mat, getting flat. I know Leo does that a lot. I usually just put it under my cutting board. But this is drying pretty close. I live in Georgia, so it's hot here. So I'm going to trim that off right there. It doesn't like it cut quite evenly. All right, now we're going to glue on our panels. Now, my designer paper, I just let them all be exactly the same. And it does have an up and down, and it goes like this. That's the top. So I want to make sure I glue them on correctly. And this little notch here and here, this little sticky out part, it's so that you can line up this piece of ribbon later. That's all it's there for. If you don't want that, you can snip that off and not even have it and just cut your squares to fit your box. You don't even have to use your Cricut. You can just cut them with your paper trimmer if you want to, if you have designer paper and don't want to try to cut it with your Cricut, because sometimes that doesn't work well. Okay, and I just want to try to center this on here. And this is going to go all the way to the fold and all the way to the fold, both sides, just like that. So I'm going to use my tweezers just so I can get glue out to the edges without my fingers being in the way. And because this is, you know, I think it's maybe, it's cardstock that you can buy from Amazon. I buy that white cardstock from Amazon. There's like 500 sheets in a package. I'm not sure the poundage is because it's GSM on there. And, but it's good enough to make it like designer paper thickness. And the only thing is you don't want to put too much glue on it, because then if you put too much glue, then you're going to have wrinkledy paper. Wrinkledy. Is that a word? It is today. Wrinkledy. Okay, so get that all pressed down. Now, if you have your brayer handy, you can brayer that. I don't have mine in here right now, so I'm not going to bother. All right, do the one facing it. Just make sure you do them all the same. Well, if your paper has a direction, you know, it would be silly to make a box with it pointing down. So if your paper has a direction like this does, then you want to make sure that you put it in the right direction. And we know that this is the right direction because the musical notes on the clef staff, this is the bottom of the clef staff, and you can see there where it's going. So, okay, got those pressed down. Okay, let's do the other side. We went from nice weather to hotter than the blue blazes in just a day. And the pollen is god-awful horrible. It's just horrible. You can't even breathe when you go outside. It's so thick. I can't take enough drugs. Okay. Went up to my Joann's store today. Still in the going out of business phase. Makes me so sad. I think that was probably maybe my last trip up there because I basically have bought all their paper. They don't have any more paper. I have been in there like 4 times and bought all my favorite colors in the Bazzill, however you say it, textured cardstock. And I went back today and bought about another 75 sheets, I think. And they don't have any more of my colors. They don't have any more textured cardstock. So I guess that would be my last trip. Unless they get some truck that pulls up and brings them some new inventory, I guess I'm through shopping at Joann's. And it was so naked in there today, it was too depressing. Okay, so there's our panels put on. Now, and in my opinion, there's no reason to wait. Do it while it's flat. Go ahead and put these strips on. I've also inked the edges of these with my little sponge. I used a sponge and Stampin' Up! Rose Red. I think that's right. Yeah, Rose Red ink. It matches this paper almost perfectly. Okay, and you see how those line up with that little sticky out part at the top and at the bottom, okay? Let's get those put on. And you know, this paper came out of the Park Lane pack, which I believe it looks so much like Encore. I think Encore must make this and sell it under the Park Lane, which is the Joann brand. But it has a texture also on the back, unlike the Bazzill paper. It's smooth on the back, especially the 4s. This is Bazzill 4s, which means it looks like a canvas, and it's smooth on the back. They also have, Bazzill has mono, which is kind of like, it looks almost like a grass cloth. But this, you just have to make sure you're putting your correct side out. And usually when I'm doing this for my crafty girls, I will take a pen, a white pen or glitter pen, and put a B so they'll know which one's the back. Because, you know, if the lighting's not good, you may not catch that. Okay, put that right there. Nice and pressed down. And one more. And then we can fold our box up into a box. These are pretty quick. You could actually do like a little assembly line if you like had a luncheon or something and everybody was going to get a little party favor in a box. These would be cute little boxes to make because they're small and economical. It takes 1 sheet to do the box. It takes, well, actually, if you have 3 sheets of paper, you can do 2 boxes because 2 of these, you know, the one box here, and then one box on another sheet, but you can put 2 lids on one piece. So you would only, if you had 3 sheets of paper and 1 sheet for your ribbon, you could make 2 boxes. Okay, so that's on there nice and flat. Now we're going to fold our box up. We're going to start with the bottom. I'm going to take the top pieces though and fold them back like this, so my box will sit down on my surface like this. I'm going to fold these in, and we want to get it all the way over and make sure this side is lined up. So I'm going to go ahead and put glue on my, get you over there out of the way. Put glue on my tabs. Like that. But I'm going to run right around the edge of this lid that I'm going to close. I call it a lid. It's really the bottom. I'll run this around the edge so that it gets all the way out to the edge. If it oozes out, I can wipe it off. Just want to make sure I got enough glue to make the box be sturdy. Okay, so I'm going to fold it down. Well, I've kind of pulled these up a little bit. Fold it down and then make sure that it's lined up across the way. Because we know this is lined up because that's attached. So we want to make sure that across is also perfectly lined up with the edge. And I'm just going to hold it there for a minute. Then I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to take my handy dandy blocking tool, put down in it and press and press. Normally you could just put your fingers in there, but I have fingernails and I have poked a hole through the side of things trying to get a fingernail down into a corner. So these work great. You can make your own little blocks. You buy these are the Jenga or whatever that game was, you know, where you stacked up the blocks. This is the dollar store version of that. And you just glue them together with some wood glue and make your own little pressing blocks. They're great. And you can make them in all shapes. You can have them tall so that you can reach down like that. But I have them in all little shapes. Okay, and I want to make sure that's really sealed around the edge right there. So run your finger down, make sure it's nice and sealed, and look and see if there's any gaps. There's a little bit of a gap right there, so I'm going to squirt just a little bit of glue on there. I don't go the trouble like Leo does and stick glue on a piece of paper and try to feed it in there. It's just paper. And not everybody appreciates it, you know, so it could be in the dumpster tomorrow, who knows. So now I'm going to fold in my top flaps. I'm going to do the opposing sides. Just make sure there's some right along that edge. Fold it over, turn it over so you can press it down really good. And this is where my handy dandy little quilter's clips come in handy. Or you can use clothespins, but the quilter clips work better. They're flatter than a clothespin. Clothespin can leave dents, and you don't want to leave dents in things. So press that down real good. Okay, put your clips on there. Okay, and I'm going to move them over to the center just a little bit so that I can fold this down. Put some right on the edge. And work that over and get it right in there. Again, fold it down and press from the inside. Press and hold. Reminds me of a play I was in one time, and Jeff Cooper had a line in the play, but he couldn't remember the line. So he kept standing there just not saying it, and one of the stagehands told him they thought they were giving him his blocking, and they said, grab and hold. And so he says, grab and hold, grab and hold. They were just giving him his blocking. He thought that was his line. So from then on, there was a standing joke, grab and hold. Now, the reason I just took that and trimmed it right there is because my little strip was just over the top, and being semi-perfectionist, that had to go. Just be careful, don't cut your box. Okay, move these over out of the way, and we do this last little tab. Yeah, Jeff was a fun person to be on stage with. Always a comic. Very talented person. Could sing, could dance. He and 3 other guys did a show called Forever Plaid, and they were so good. They had wonderful voices and just lovely talent. Ed Richardson, just beautiful voices. Okay, so there we go. That's all down. I'm going to leave my clips on there. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put one more right there just to kind of hold that now while I work on the lid. That looks pretty good to me. It's all square. There's no gaps. It looks nice and neat. These are not hanging. That one hanging over just a hair. Let me trim him off. And that one too. No, it's down. It just looks that way. It's an illusion. Okay, so there's that. We'll put it off to the side. Now we're going to take this piece. It's going to get glued in the bottom once I take my clips off of that. So now we're going to work on the lid. And the lid has this is an insert that you put in after you make the lid just to give it a little bit of reinforcement. So to start the lid, all we're going to do is start gluing our pieces on. Now the top piece is, of course, the top's a little bit bigger than the box, of course, to make it fit. So this piece is just slightly larger than those side pieces, but it has the things on all 4 sides so that you'll have a lineup for the ribbon. And because the ribbon's going to get mounted to this piece of paper, I want to make sure that it's got glue out to the edges. I'm going to tap it out, wipe off my finger. Now, I'm going to line this up so that these touch the fold line, and that little hole right there is in the middle. There's a hole right here in the middle of this paper. Just like that. Can't see my hole. Get out of the way, you. Okay. Line up the hole and line up the sides with the fold. There we go. When you're doing really flat pieces like this, if you do have a brayer, I do recommend using it. It just makes sure that the glue gets all squished out the way it's supposed to be, not globbed up. Especially if you're not using a thin-based glue like this Barely Art. The Barely Art works really well. It is permanent. You don't get it apart once it's glued together. But it's thinner than the tacky glue, so it takes a little bit longer for it to be tacky. The tacky glue is immediately tacky, but it also takes longer to dry than this. This dries pretty quickly. Okay, now we want to put our little panels that go on the sides here, and these are all the same, and they also, like the side pieces, have a top and bottom. And the way I'm looking at it, this is the top, so this is the top, so I want it facing this direction. And it's going to go right up to that fold line. It should almost touch this other piece right here that we just put on. It should almost touch that, and it's going to get right there in that spot. So we'll hold it right about here so I can get some on that middle. And down, down, and you go right there, and because that lines up with that, that should make you have it the right distance from each side, and hopefully that won't need any trimming when we fold everything over. Okay, now we're going to put the next one on, and this is the bottom. We want to make sure they're all the same. Now if you're just doing some designer paper that's polka dots or stripes or plaids or something, of course there won't be a top and a bottom. Like so. Here, make sure it's straight. Squeaky. Okay. And one more here. Out to the edges. And yeah, the bottom, top. Goes right. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't move too much. Okay, get over. Okay. Okay. I need to always make sure when I'm doing this, because I'm not at my craft table, I have to come to my kitchen because the lighting is better in here for filming. And plus it's the only place I have a counter I can mount this camera to. I'm trying a different camera mount today. I hope it's working. I see the picture on my watch, so it must be working. Okay. Alrighty, and turn it over, make sure it's all down. Press against a hard surface. Ta-da! Okay. Now, you can take this piece, which is the center. Now, some of you may have this in two pieces. One long strip with a hole in the middle, and then two pieces that go on either side. I just did that for later editions just because it's a paper saver. This takes up a lot of paper to be cut because it has to take up a whole 8-inch piece of paper to cut this out. So this can be gone. You can go ahead and glue this down and then put the box together. I haven't tried that yet, but I'm gonna try it this time and see how it works. So you wanna go up to this, see the fold line? There's a fold line right here, which is the same as this fold line. So I can see them right there, there, right there, and right there. So I'm just going to go ahead and put some glue on the back of this in this area only. Right up to the edge of that fold line. Just like that. And then I'm going to lay that down over that hole. Line up that hole, and this should line up with the sides, and the side, the side, side. So that's in a line, that's in a line, that's in a line, just like that. Okay. Okay. A little bit of rhythm. Okay, and we're going to fold these little tabs down. I think I've already folded the rest of them. So, we're going to start with one side. You're going to start with this. It's going to get folded closed. So, put glue on here and just make sure that when you do this glue that you get it all the way out to the edge just like we did on the box. So that when you close it like this, there's glue on the edge of this, gets the edge of this paper so that it makes a nice seal. And this is when you just kind of need to hold this for a minute. You can put it down on your counter. Once you get, make sure it don't get unlined up. Hold that for a minute. Just like that. Just work your way around. The last one will be a little bit more difficult because it'll be harder to get it into the, you can't open it up like this. Okay, tap that out. The edge, close that up. Put it down, hold it for a minute. Okay. Tap it out to the edge. Fold it up. Line it up good to the edge. Hold it for a minute. Press it down on the table. And if you really want to press it, you could take one of your little blocks and press in there. Okay, now this last one is a little bit trickier because you just kind of have to hold it open and pray for the best of getting glue on everything. Just make sure you get some out to the edge there and hold it. And if it squishes out, wipe it off before it dries. Of course, the Barely Art glue is not real shiny when it dries, so you're pretty good if it does kind of get over. It doesn't ruin the look of your project because it's not really shiny. Okay, let's check all our joins. There needs to be a little bit right there. When I go back and do glue like that, I call it caulking. Caulk up that corner. See, all these little corners, they don't get quite enough up to the edge. That one's good. Okay, again, we're going to have our little flaps that get folded down into the inside like the box did. So we're just going to make sure there's glue out to the edge. Around, 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 around. Fold it over and in. And again, I'm going to put a clip on there to hold that in place. Just like that. Holding my corners in. Okay. Glue here. All the way out to the edge. And this is one time when it's a tight squeeze, because you can see how it really goes up, because I didn't cut away anything to make it fit in there, because I want it to really be reinforced. You can use your little pressing block. If you have one of those little irons, some people use those little irons. But put your finger in there or your little block in there. Make sure you get it pressed down up to the corner to make a nice sharp corner. And that also, because it fits so tightly, it makes the lid very snug and durable. Okay, I'm gonna move that over, move this over. So I can get, whoops, so I can get the lid in. And out to the corners. And get that folded over. And pressed really flat. I'm gonna use my little block to get up into the corner. To the corner. Make sure it's nice and flat. Okay, and it's going to have a clip and a clip. Move that over, move that over. Okay, a little glue here. Fold it in. Okay, down flat. Use your little block to get into the corners. You can use some, you can't use the Stampin' Up! Acrylic blocks because they're very rounded. But you can use the cheapy kind of blocks like you buy from Walmart or whatever for stamping that are like those acrylic blocks. You can use that. That works good. Or if you have a little Pampered Chef spatula, that works good too to get things into corners. Of course, you can probably sell that Pampered Chef little spatula, since they don't make it anymore. They're like the hardest. They're like trying to find a dinosaur if you wanted to replace it. And you could probably sell it for enough to buy you a lot of paper at the paper store. Okay, so now what we want to do is wrap this all the way around and fold it in like that so that it has a nice little finished edge, no loose paper. So I'm going to go ahead and do it all at one time. Put it over there like that. Wrap it around. Hold it. Put a clip on it. Okay. Now, if you're doing this yourself at home, of course, you're not going to be trying to hurry up and get it on camera. So you can just sit there and hold it while you're drinking your wine and watching TV. But I'm going to use my little clips so that I can move on to the next side. There we go. Clip. Okay. And push it flat, wrap it around, and put a clip on it. There we go. Okay, my corners look good. Well, getting sloppy there. Okay, fold it up, Press it down nice and tight. Wrap it around nice and tight. Hold it. Put your clip on there. Okay. And that looks good to me. I don't see any gaping holes. Everything matches up. Everything's closed in the corners. Okay, we'll set that aside and let it dry for just a minute while we do our bow. Now this is the bow, and you can take a dowel, or you can just, I'm going to just use the edge of my scissor. There's a fold line here and a fold line here, which is the actual thickness of the ribbon. As you can see, the fold line in from the end is the same thickness as the ribbon. So it makes these two little pieces be completely square. I call them little squares at the end. I'm going to take my scissor and just do like this gently, since I don't have a dowel out here at my kitchen. And I'm going to go ahead and put glue on this little square. And I'm going to fold it up and put this square on top of that square. Make sure it's all lined up and it is square. Hold it for a minute, and again, I'm going to put a clip on it, just like that, and let that just sit aside and dry for a moment. All right, this piece, these are just alike. There's a score in the middle that's a square, so I want to fold it just so I can see it. It's just there for the purpose of seeing. It doesn't really serve much of a purpose other than that. And this paper does have a right and wrong side, so you want to make sure that your wrong side is out, of course. And the little pieces at the end get folded valley fold. These will be valley, and these will be mountain. And again, I'm going to take my scissor, and just this part between here and here, I'm going to kind of loosen it up so it'll curve. You could do this with a dowel. You could do it with your bone folder. I just didn't bring any of that into the kitchen with me. Okay, now you see my two little fold lines here and here. You can actually take a pen and mark it if you want to, but I'm going to put glue on that whole square. Now these two pieces don't overlap, they meet. They go right on that score line, just like that. And then this side comes from the other side on that score line and butts up to the other piece, so that they make a little square in the middle. And you have to really hold your tongue right to do them both at one time. And you're going to make this little square in the middle right here. You can see how it's making a little flat square that is the thickness of this, which is 0.65 inches, I believe. So it's a 0.65 inch square in the middle. You do just like that, kind of fluff it up. And again, I'm going to put a handy dandy clip right there while I do the other one. So again, this is going to be a valley fold and a valley fold. And then this will be the other way. I can see my line. There's one line, there's the other line. And it makes a square. Okay, get over there. Can't see it. Okay, so there and there. Take my scissor again, and I'm going to curl the ribbon a little bit. Just like when we used to take curling ribbon, you know, and you'd run your scissor down it. Just have to be kind of careful because this is paper. It can tear it. And I'm going to put glue, and I'll show you how much easier it is if you just do one side at a time. If you just do this side, put it down, line it up, make sure it sticks, get it stuck. And you don't want to be stingy with your glue because there's a pressure on this because it's like a spring. It wants to spring back open. So make sure you get enough glue to hold it down. All right, now see how it was easier to do that way because I have it already pieced down. I don't have to hold them both at the same time. And I can put this side right up next to it, just like that. And make my little square. And again, hold it in place. And put a clip on it. I'll put the flat side of the clip over there. Okay. So there's our 3 pieces of ribbon. Now all it has to do is be put together. And you're just going to take one piece. And really doesn't matter which you put up, but I just put up the piece that I put this part down where it was seamed. I put that on the bottom. And then this piece also goes down. So you got seam, seam, and these are just going to line up that square in the middle. That square that they make in the middle from the two pieces of paper. Put glue there and hold that down in the right in the middle till it makes a square. And this is one time when you really kind of just need to hold it till it's dry, or till it's somewhat dry. And if you have one of your handy dandy Jenga things, you can hold it with that. Or even with two of them together is perfect size. Right there. Just hold it down flat. Yeah, these were, I saw somebody using them to build a glue gun holder. And I thought, I'm going to try them for something else. I do a lot of 3D houses, townhouses, structures from SVG cuts and from 3D SVG, Leo Cowan's website. He has a whole team of designers. The both of them, SVG cuts and 3D Dreaming Tree, do wonderful designs. Okay, this one kind of got dented where I didn't quite get that curled up enough. It wants to look dented, but anyway, close enough. All right, I'm going to take this off, and we got this is the center, and we're just going to put some glue on here and stick it right down in that square, and stick your finger in there again and hold it. We're going to take our clips off our lid while I'm holding that with my finger. Okay, I think that's down. And in our lid, we're going to put in this is our reinforcement piece. And all it does is just make it even more stable than it already is. And I stuck it in there before I put glue on it. I have to dig it back out. Perfect fit, obviously. And I'm just going to put the glue in the box. It's easier than holding the paper. Some around that center. A few dots. Right side up, of course, so you see it. And that just makes it have a completely finished look inside. Nice and sturdy. There we go. All our corners and sides are nice and glued. And you know, when you glue something using glue instead of tape, it actually makes, when the glue dries, it's like putting cement in bricks. It makes it very sturdy. Okay, now on the bottom of the bow, where the square is, I'm just going to put a blob of glue, because I want to make sure this doesn't come off. And I'm going to line it up this way and this way with the bow. And once I think I have it lined up like that, I'm just going to, this line should go with that line, ribbon, this line, this way. Okay, that looks right there. I'm just going to hold it with my finger. You could do this with a hot glue gun. Just make sure you put a thin coating on there, because you don't want your bow sticking up in a big blob of glue. I think Leo Cowell actually did glue his own with a hot glue gun, but that's another thing I have to go get out and bring to the kitchen. Okay, so there we go. That's nice and stuck. We'll pinch it on both sides just to make sure. Okay, set that over there and let that dry. Now our box also has a reinforced bottom. Take all of our clips off. And this piece just goes in the bottom of the box. And I'm going to put glue down in the bottom, because it's easier that way than putting it on the paper. A few dots around the edges and in the corner, in the corner, in the corner, and in the corner. And then this is exactly supposed to be exactly 3 inches, but it looks tight. I'm going to trim off just a little bit. I may have brought the wrong piece in here. I'm going to trim off just a hair. Always know you can just trim it off if it doesn't fit. That's it. And then just stick that down in the bottom. Press it all the way down into the corners. I think that's one of those pieces I had to go back and remeasure because it needed to be just shy of 3 inches or 3.5 inches. 3 inches on this box. Okay, we've got a nice finished bottom, nice finished inside the lid. Here goes the test. Let's put the lid on the box. Ta-da! And it fits perfectly and it's snug. It's not going to fall off. There we go. Isn't that just adorable? Now you can take it and put your sticker on the bottom or your monogram on the bottom. And in my pattern, I also included like a little tag that you could put some sponging on and hang a little tag off if you wanted to. Or make an accompanying card. I gave the girls some extra printed paper so they could make a matching card if they wanted to. And so this is going to be our craft project for Tuesday. So we'll see how everybody likes it. And there they are. I hope you enjoyed. Happy crafting.